Every time you softened your words to make someone comfortable, you didn't show diplomacy, you showed submission. Every time you dialed back your standards so the room wouldn't feel awkward, you didn't demonstrate humility. You performed erasure on yourself, willingly. The world didn't ask you to shrink. You chose to, and somewhere deep in you, you already know that. Think about the last time you were in a room, a meeting, a dinner, a conversation, and you felt it. That specific, nauseating pull. Someone said something shallow. Someone laughed at something hollow, and you had a choice. Say what you actually thought, or soften it. Round the edges, make it land gently enough that no one shifted in their seat. You chose the second option. You told yourself it was strategic, mature, that you were reading the room. But let's name what actually happened. You taxed your own intelligence to subsidize someone else's comfort. You voluntarily dimmed so the room could stay bright. And the worst part? Nobody noticed. Nobody thanked you for the sacrifice. They just absorbed the warmth you gave off and moved on. This is the invisible transaction you've been running your entire social life. You give up a fragment of your actual self, your real opinion, your actual standard, your unfiltered position, and in return, you receive nothing but the temporary relief of not being the one who made things difficult. That's not strategy. That's a slow, dignified surrender, dressed in the costume of social grace. Here is the concept that most people are not equipped to handle: psychological dilution. It doesn't happen in dramatic moments. It doesn't arrive with a warning. It seeps in through every small compromise you make in the name of getting along. Every time you adjusted your vocabulary to match someone less precise. Every time you agreed with a lukewarm take to avoid friction. Every time you let a mediocre idea pass unchallenged because the room seemed invested in it. Each one of those moments cost you something that doesn't show up on any ledger, a microscopic fraction of your internal coherence. Your self-concept takes the hit, and the aggregate, after months, after years of this, you have become a negotiated version of yourself, a blurred copy, functional, palatable, powerless. The machinery behind this is almost elegant in how it operates. Social environments are not neutral. They exert pressure, constant, ambient, invisible pressure toward conformity. The group has a center of gravity, and everyone in proximity gets pulled toward it. Most people don't resist this pull, because resisting it costs something immediately: a raised eyebrow, a moment of awkward silence, the subtle social chill of being the person who didn't just go along. The immediate cost is visible. The long-term cost of surrendering your axis is invisible. So the calculus feels obvious in the moment, even when it's catastrophically wrong over time. You pay a small visible price now, or an enormous invisible price later. The masses always choose the immediate comfort. That is precisely why the masses remain the masses. Now, imagine you are in a boardroom, not as an employee trying to impress, as someone who has already decided what he is. The senior voices in the room are circling around a strategy that you can see is structurally flawed, not wrong in a way that requires opinion, wrong in a way that is provable. The energy in the room is warm with consensus. Heads are nodding. The momentum is social, not logical. Everyone is waiting for a voice to confirm the direction. And you feel it, that pull, the invitation to nod, to add your weight to the consensus and let the moment pass clean. Here is what the diluted man does. He finds language that is supportive enough to not be threatening, vague enough to preserve his later escape, and agreeable enough to keep the room's temperature stable. He calls this being strategic. He is not being strategic. He is being afraid. And fear dressed in professional language is still fear. What does the immovable man do? He states the structural flaw. Once, clearly, without apology, without softening the edges for the room's emotional convenience. He does not repeat himself. He does not escalate. He simply refuses to add his name to something he knows is wrong. The room may go cold. That coldness is not a problem to be solved. It is information. It tells him exactly who in that room operates on logic and who operates on social temperature. This is the core of ruthless detachment. You are not responsible for the emotional weather of other people's environments. Their discomfort when confronted with your standards is not your malfunction, it is theirs. The moment you accept responsibility for how others feel about your unwillingness to lower your level, you have handed them the lever that controls you. They will pull it, endlessly, not always with malicious intent, sometimes simply because humans gravitate toward what requires the least resistance. If lowering your standards makes you easier to be around, they will unconsciously press for that, every single time. The only defense is not negotiation. The only defense is immovability. An absolute refusal to let the gravitational center of a lesser room redefine where your floor is. Adaptability is preached as virtue. It is packaged as emotional intelligence, as cultural fluency, as leadership finesse. Understand what it actually is in practice. Adaptability, when applied to your core standards, is voluntary devaluation. A currency that inflates to meet demand is not a strong currency. A mind that expands its tolerance for mediocrity to meet the room is not a flexible mind. It is a conquered one. The Stoics understood that the only territory worth defending was internal. Epictetus, a man who was literally owned, understood that no external force could touch the citadel of his judgment unless he opened the gate himself. You are not a slave, and yet you have been opening that gate voluntarily, repeatedly, with a smile, because the room felt tense. Stop auditing your own intelligence for the comfort of people who will never reciprocate the courtesy. The masses are loud precisely because they need the noise to drown out their own emptiness. Your silence, your stillness, your refusal to perform their language, that is not arrogance. That is a different frequency entirely. And it will feel like arrogance to those who have never operated outside the gravity of the herd. Let it. Their perception of you is their problem to manage, not yours. The next time you feel that pull, the invitation to soften, to agree, to round the edges of your position for the room's comfort, deploy this exact process. Do not speak immediately. Let the pause sit. In that pause, ask yourself one question. Am I about to change what I think? Or am I about to change how I say it to protect what I think? If the answer is the first, stop. Say nothing, or say what you actually believe. If you say what you actually believe and the room goes cold, do not fix the temperature. Watch it. The people who cannot tolerate your actual position will self-select. They will pull back, recalibrate, or leave. This is not a social failure. This is filtration working exactly as it should. You don't need a full room. You need the right room. And the right room can only form around the real version of you, not the negotiated copy you've been offering. There is only one binary. You maintain your axis, or you return to the orbit of the herd. There is no third option that doesn't quietly destroy you. But here is what this video hasn't touched yet. What happens inside you after you hold that line? What the silence after immovability actually does to your psychology over time? That is a different architecture entirely, and it demands its own dissection.